Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker owner Alan Cooper of Duck Brothers Real Estate based out of Waco, Texas. Alan bought an ERA franchise back in 2009. After a few years, he merged his company with another ERA franchise, and they were paying him out. Since 2009, he has been awarded ERA President Circle Award for sales volume and dollar production, and that's 6 years running. He's just recently separated the local ERA franchise and went completely independent. Alan is a single dad of two amazing boys. He is highly involved in his community through the Knights of Columbus. He has been in the real estate business since 2009 and specializes in Waco, Texas, and surrounding areas like Temple and Belton. All right, with all that said, Alan, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
And Alan, if we could start for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
I stumbled into it. I was getting out of the car business, and my dad and I at the time were kind of in a crossroads, and we decided that we wanted to work together, and we ended up purchasing a real estate company here in Central Texas.
And do you think you would talk a little bit about what personal attributes, traits, or qualities you think have most contributed to the success that you've had in real estate?
I believe that people are getting so sick and tired of the smoke and mirrors and people wanting the truth right out in front of them. And instead of trying to persuade or sell, we took a different aspect of sitting down and actually consulting our clients and sitting down and saying, if this was me, I probably wouldn't invest more than I can afford. And that really puts people kind of an assurance that they're going the right direction, because let's face it, in the real estate business, the more they spend, the more we make. But we put an aspect out there of saying that is not the most important thing. We want these clients to be comfortable. We don't want them to be house poor and struggling each month to come up with the payment just because they get qualified for a higher limit.
Excellent. And Alan, do you think you can give our listeners an example of when these traits have played a role in your path toward success?
Prime example is it's got some clients last name Smith, and they got married and they got pre-qualified for $200,000. And we sat down and I started visiting with them, and they wanted to enjoy life and take vacations and have enough money to take the kids to Disney World and stuff like that. And we went through the budget, and it turned out that $200,000 was the top side of what they're comfortable with. To be adequate and have a comfortable lifestyle, 130 to 150 would have given them enough cash each month for the factors of life. You know, the water heater going out, or one of the kids deciding to get married and having money for the wedding, or taking their kids to Disney. And going through that lifespan, they went through, and then about 5 years later, they said, you know what, we appreciate this. This is a great property. Now we want to go ahead and get something a little smaller but nicer. And we went through the whole process of putting their house on the market and them actually being in an equitable situation, and were able to upgrade, but they enjoyed the quality of life during those 5 years of staying there, that it wasn't a question of who they were going to call to list their house. They picked it up and trusted me and had a good friendship with me where they said, hey, it's time for us to get this thing sold.
Alan, I think whenever somebody builds a successful career or a business, that sometimes getting there, there's bumps in the road along the way. Can you talk about some of the adversities and trials that you've had to overcome in order to achieve your goals?
Well, the biggest one is a few years ago, the housing market was a disaster. During that whole period that the banks loaning more money than they should have and having the bailouts, we got ourselves in a pickle. And the cash flow during that time was a little bit difficult for the fact that people weren't selling and people weren't buying homes as much as they are right now. So during that time, we really had the ability to focus on the quality of work that we were doing, because we didn't get a second chance with a lot of these buyers and a second chance with these sellers, because the housing market wasn't there. So we really did have an opportunity to hone on our skills and sit down and really focus on the client's wants and needs, and which turned out to be probably the best way of building our business, is slowing down the process where we actually sit down and not worry about how many transactions we had, We worry more about the quality of experience that the families are going through.
And Alan, as you hit these, obstacles as they come up for you, why don't you give up what you're driving force?
Well, I'm a single dad of 2 kids, and these kids are my oldest one is 10, about to be 11, my youngest is 6, and they're highly active. That being said, I wanted the flexibility to raise my kids and spend quality time with them. Real estate is the profession where I could actually influence and help a lot of families as possible, but still spend the quality time with my kids. For example, I each evening around 7 o'clock we're making dinner, saying prayers, getting ready for bed. The clients that I work with understand the importance of mealtime and dinner time and prayers before bed. They gave me the flexibility to say, you know what, we're not going to call you after 7. We'll pick up again the next day. And that's been a blessing, being able to have a relationship with my clients, not just a transaction.
And Alan, looking forward, what's your vision for your business and your career over the next 5 years?
Well, the next 5 years, I'm hoping to be able to expand into the Georgia, Savannah market and also the Charleston, South Carolina market. So I'm hoping to have at least a couple more offices within the next 5 years.
And I guess kind of on top of that, what do you feel is the best way you market yourself as a real estate professional so you can have continual growth?
Well, the biggest thing is we're actually involved in the community in a lot of different aspects. I'm highly involved with the Knights of Columbus. Some of my other agents are in Wounded Warriors and United Way. The biggest part of it is our ability to actually go ahead and to get back into the community. The agents that I recruit, they have an understanding that it's not, I want you to go out and produce, but I also want you to be highly involved in the community, because that's the only way we're going to change the community to a positive way, is to be involved. So you'll see us in different activities every week, doing some volunteer work, whether it's with the VA, United Way, the Humane Society. My agents are going to be there contributing back to the community.
And Alan, I think sometimes when the general public looks at real estate agents, they don't fully understand the value that they provide from both the buyer and the seller standpoint. What do you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with a real estate agent?
Well, unfortunately, there's some bad apples in the business, just like any business out there. And sometimes they group us in the category of lawyers and politicians and used car salesmen, and that's not the case. If you get a true agent that cares about you and worries about your needs and wants to make sure that they're going to build a good relationship, the money is second to the desire of helping the clients out.
And let's say you get a call from a family member or a friend, and they're in another state, and they want to sell their home. Now, obviously, with your experience and probably with the connections you have, you could look up an agent and do a referral. But from a general advice standpoint, what advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs?
Well, two aspects. A lot of times, the first is to want to call the number one agent out in the market. And unfortunately, the number one agent, most of the time, they're a numbers agent. Nationwide, and you can pull this up in the National Association of Realtors, nationally, the list to selling ratio is still between 30 to 40%. But there's not a single agent that's going to go in there and say, hey, I'll give you a 30% chance, Keith, that I'm going to sell your house. Those words never come out of their mouth. But the reality is that's the average national. And just kind of like how you may have some tools at your house to fix odds and ends around the house, I'm pretty sure you're not going to go out to your truck and change the injectors in your truck. You're probably going to take it to a mechanic and have him use his tools to do the job. The same thing with the real estate business. There's a lot of agents out there that have tools that do not have any idea how to use the tools correctly. So I would caution them not to just jump to the first name, the big name out there, but to really sit down and make sure that the agent is going to be able to spend quality time and focus on their property, not just take the list and slap a sign on there and move on. If it needs to be a positive experience, and this is most likely one of the largest investments of their lives, it doesn't need to be rushed, and it needs to be a good feeling at the end where everybody wins.
Hi, Alan, obviously based out of the Waco, Texas area, and if somebody's looking for real estate services or an agent in that general area, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
DuckBrothersRealEstate.com is the quickest way. Get information on buying and selling properties in that area, or you can, from that actual website link, you can email me directly, and we can schedule a time to visit.
Excellent. Well, Alan, obviously want to take the time to thank you for coming here to share all your professional real estate experience with our listeners. And if you're listening and you want to learn more about Alan, obviously you can go to his website, like you said. Also below this interview, we'll have a link to his site and any other contact information we have so you can see how he can help you with your real estate needs. So with that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.